Hi everyone, it's Paul from Mako, and this is the second video in our Bubble Up project with Curious Minds. So I'd like to just give them a big thanks for this project and having us a part of it. So in this video we're going to carry on with computer game design, and we're going to look at some different aspects and make a completely different game in this video. We're still going to be using MakeCode Arcade, which is a free website. It's fantastic, you can do loads of different games with it, but we're going to be making maze games today. And if you're new to this video, go back and check week 1, the first video. It was an avoid game, it was fantastic. If you were seen that video and you've used MakeCode Arcade, you know what the website looks like. So this website is fantastic with loads of different things on there for you to scroll through, try, play, look at. But what we're going to focus on is this one here that says new project, and it's got a white bubble with an orange plus sign and it says new project. We're going to give that a click. And like always, it'll ask for you to name your project. And don't need to worry about the actual finished title of your game. You can put anything in there, test, maze game, anything you want, your name. I'm just going to call it maze game for the moment, because we can change that at the end. So I'm just going to put maze game, and then I'm going to click this green create button. And then that'll load up, and we've got our coding workstation here. We've got all our different types of coding. And then on this side, where I'm moving the cursor, we've got a demo of what our game will look like. So what we need to do first is think about our character and what our hero is going to be. So what I've got is, from the handouts that you will get, is a template that I've coloured in and I've created myself on this. So this is just a plan for me to glance at while I'm creating my character. So to create my character, to create my hero, I need to go into this sprite section here at the top, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to go into the create section that says set my sprite to sprite of kind player. This one here, this blue and red one. I'm going to take this one in and I'm going to drop it into the on start. And there's a few things we need to do. We need to rename the variable, but this is just naming our character, and until we've designed our character we might not have a name for him yet, or her, or it. So I'm going to go into this section here, which is the square, where we're able to create our character. And loads of different features and tools in here that we can look at. So on the editor section, where we're creating our character, we've got a toolbar along the left hand side with our pencil. So that's selected now because it's got the box around it, so that means I can draw on the screen. The next one is our erase tool, where I can rub things out. Next line, I've got a shape tool, and this is a rectangle or square that I can draw. So there's the square, well, a rectangle, and there's a square. We've also got the fill tool, which allows us to fill in shapes that we've drawn. As long as all the edges are connected, we can fill in the inside of those shapes. Also works for the next tool, which is the circle tool, which is there. So you can draw squares really with this as well, but it's there for circles. So if I undo that and draw it towards the middle of my screen, you'll be able to see. There we go. So it can draw circles. Good if you want to create retro Mario coins or rings from Sonic. You can use that tool. The next tool as well is just the straight line tool. So it just draws a straight line, whether it be vertical, horizontal or diagonal. It draws a perfect line for you. You've also got here, the next one down is the marquee tool, which is one of my favourite ones. So if you made a mistake and you've drawn something and it's not quite in the right position, you can draw around it like I have there. I've got this dotted line around it, and then it turns your cursor into a hand, and that means you can pick that up and you can move it around the screen. You can move it into the right position if it's not quite in the right position. So that's a really cool tool. And the last one is the hand tool, and that just allows you to move your entire canvas. Okay, And then underneath those, you have your preset colors. So if you design your character, have a little think about what colors you're going to use. So that's why on this template that I've got, the colors underneath it match the colors that are on the screen. Okay, so if you're using this template, stick to those colors, because those colors match what you can use in the editor. And last is just these few tools at the bottom. My other favorite one is the undo button, what I'm clicking now, and it just clears everything step by step with what you've drawn. And at the side of it is your redo, so it'll add stuff back in, and then just your magnifying glasses to zoom in or out. If you are struggling with designing your character, you can use the gallery, and this just has a load of preset different types of characters, buildings, items that you can use, from people to cats to bats to mushrooms, loads and loads and loads of different things. So if you are struggling, you can choose one of these. So for example, if I just click on this one here, I can then change the colors. If I go to the pencil, make sure the pencils, I can change him. So I could make him look a little bit like Link from Legend of Zelda if I wanted to, or I can edit him to look like somebody else. Okay, but I've designed a character, so I'm going to put myself into my game. So I'm just going to undo that insert, and I'm going to recreate my template that I've made. I might make some changes to this, because I think there might be some improvements that I can make, but I'm going to use this as my plan. So if you would like to, you can pause the video here as I'm designing mine, and then unpause once you have finished your character design for the next steps. Okay, so there's my character design. I've made a few little changes just to see if I could make it any better, and I think I have. I've made my head just a little bit bigger so I could get more of my beard in, and I forgot to put the white bit on my orange shirt. So from this design, which is here, to the design that you can see on my screen, is I've made a few little changes, a few little adjustments. Okay, so that might be the same with your characters. You might have designed it on the paper, and then as you design it, you've made a few little changes. That's fine. So once you're happy with your design, I'm going to ask you to click the green done button at the bottom of your screen. It says done in a green box, and then that'll throw your character into your screen at the side. And next thing is we're going to rename here this variable here that says my sprite. I'm just going to click on the little drop down, and we're going to click on rename the variable, and I'm going to give it my name. But like I said, you might have give your character a different name. You might have created something completely different and you've made up a name, but always try and rename the variable, so when we start adding code, different blocks and stuff, it makes sense if the variables if they're not all just named my sprite 2, 1 and got numbers on. If we rename them, it helps us when we're adding code in. So we've started to get our code in there, and what we need to do now is move our character, because if I click on the side here and I move this direction button around, nothing happens. Our character doesn't move anywhere. So what we need to do, we need to go into this controller section here, and we're going to go straight to the top block that says move my sprite with buttons, and it's got this plus symbol here. So if I drag that in and put that into the on start, you'll notice you get a little warning sign. So it's a triangle with an exclamation mark in it, and it's saying there's something wrong with your code, and that's because we haven't got a variable named my sprite. So if we click on that and change that to me, to Paul, I should then be able to move my character around the screen. Okay, so we've got our character, we can move our character, we now need to give our character a maze to move through. So what we've got is also a sheet to help you design your maze. Okay, so it's very similar to the character one, and you can see I've started to draw my maze and I've put where the walls are going to be, and then to help myself as well I've put a red block and a green block, and that's just there to say where the start and end point is, just so I've got a little bit of an idea when I'm coding where the start and end point is. I've got a visual clue to where they are. So once you've designed it and you've got an idea, we're going to go into the scene section, and we're going to go down to the section that says tiles. Okay, and there's one that says set tile map to, and it's just a blank square. We're going to take this one in, and this is where we're going to design our maze. So we're going to tap on the blank square, and very similar to the layout of the character design one, we've got a 16 by 16 square. Okay, and we've got a slightly different layout of our tools on the left hand side. We've still got all the same ones, so we've still got the pencil, the eraser, the shape tools, the fill tools, etc. But we've now got decoration tiles at the bottom, which you can scroll through and decorate your map once you've put it in. Okay, from forest, dungeon, aquatic, miscellaneous, loads of different ones. But that's not what we need to do at first, because we need to design our map, our tile map. That pop up on yours then. So first things first is we need to design our tile map, and our tile map needs to be done slightly different than just drawing on here, because we need to stop our character being able to go through walls. So right here, if I just click on this section here, it's like a wall with a bit of the block taken out, and I've tapped on it and it's gone red. So this is where we're going to draw our walls. So we're going to put them on and they're going to go red. If I click on the screen, it goes like a transparent red, and this just means our character won't be able to go through those walls. So my map, looking at it, goes down like that. Oh, let's just undo that, made a mistake. So it goes down like this, and I need to make sure there's no gaps, because if there's a gap, my character will be able to get through the wall and disappear off the screen. So just to start with, I'm going through like this. So I've got a completely sealed maze and my character can't get out of it. You can, for example, go like this and just leave one block for your character to squeeze through. Okay, but if your character is quite big and fills all of the screen when you was designing them like mine did, you're going to struggle to fit through them gaps. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to make sure I leave 2 squares width, just to make sure there's enough space. So looking at my design, I've left 2 square space there and 2 square space through there. Okay, if you make a mistake, you can use the undo button, and you can use the rubber as long as the wall's still selected, and you can delete them. Okay, if the wall isn't selected and it's not red, you need to make sure you click on it, and then you can rub out any of the red blocks, and then just make sure you click back on your pencil and you can carry on drawing. So I'm going to finish my maze, so you can pause here and get your maze designed, and then unpause, and we'll have the next bit of the So if you pause here now while you design your maze, when you unpause, we'll go through the next steps of decorating your maze and where to put your start and finish points. Okay, so I've drawn the basic outline of my maze, but it's not very decorative, it's just transparent red blocks. So this is where our tiles at the bottom here we can use to decorate. So depending on if you want it to be in a forest, and there's loads of different forest ones that you can scroll through, and you can change. So I might go to these ones. I might decorate mine to look like a little bit of a dungeon, just because I like these greeny blue walls. So I'm going to use these to decorate mine. You don't have to, but once if you just click on one of these tiles and then click on the screen, you can now see I've started to decorate it. So I'm going to click on this one, and I'm just going to start dragging across like this, and then I'm going to go for another corner piece and just slowly keep building and decorating till you've got a decorated map. You can as well choose lots of different things to decorate. It might be half and half, so you might have half dungeon, you might have half outside. It's completely up to you. You can decorate however you like. So I'll finish the rest of the walls in a minute, and I'm just going to show you can decorate these bits in the middle as well. So I'm going to go for some quick floor tiles just so you can see. I'm going to go like this. So you don't just decorate the red walls, you can decorate the floor as well. So I'm just going to finish my maze. So if you want to start decorating the floor and the walls, and then we will move on to putting your start and finish points in. Okay, so I've now decorated the walls and the floor of my maze. Now what I need to do is put in a start point and an end point. How I'm going to do that is just choose two different tiles. So I'm going to choose this open treasure chest, and I'm going to click that in at the end. So that's going to be my finish point. And I'm just going to choose this orb that kind of looks like the world, and that's going to be my start point. So I'm just going to chuck that in there. So this is going to be my start point, and this is going to be my finish point. So once you've put two separate tiles in as your start and finish point, we're going to click done. And now once our game updates, you can see our map, our maze. But if I move my character around, he can't go through the walls, which is great, but he can move off the screen, so you won't be able to see where you are on the maze. So we need to put a bit of code in there that says to the camera to follow our character around the maze. So we're going to go into scene, and we're going to go to scroll down, and it should be in here. There we go. Camera follows sprite, and then the variable says my sprite. So I'm going to drag that one in, put that one in. Same as before, the variable's wrong, so we need to change that to our character. And then as we move around, the camera follows our character around the maze. Our next issue is our characters just appearing anywhere in the maze. So we need to put a bit of code in there to say where our start point is. So we're going to go back into the scene section and we're going to scroll down, and we've got one here that says place my sprite on top of random, and then it's just a checkered square. So we're going to drag this one in, change the variable to our character, and then when that's updated, we're going to click on this drop down at the end here, and then this lists all the different types of tiles we've used in our map. So my start point I put was this earthly kind of crystally globe orb thing, so I'm going to chuck that in. So now once our game updates, my character appears at my start point. So I can move it around, try and get through the maze, and he fits through all the maze perfectly, and he gets to the end, but nothing happens at the end. So what we need to do now is we need to use some overlaps, and overlaps just means when your character touches something, something else happens. So we're going to go into the scene section, and we've got a couple of different overlaps here. So we're going to use, because we're not going to use the overlap to say when he hits a wall something happens. We're going to use this one. We're going to use the on sprite of kind player overlaps, and it's that square again that we can choose our tile at a location. So I'm going to drag this one in, and we're going to click down on the drop down, and we're going to choose what your end point is. So my end point was the chest, and I need to say what happens at this point. So I'm going to go into the game section because it's going to be a win. So I'm going to choose this game over, and it says lose at the moment, but we're going to take that in. I'm going to drop it into that overlap. We're going to change that to win. You can click on the plus button and change the effect of how you want it to win. So I'm going to go for I'm going to go for stars. Okay, so now if I run a quick demonstration of my game, run through really quickly, and I get my win. And I get, it looks for me a little bit more like snow falling, but they're supposed to be stars, and that's quite easy, okay, because there's no time limit, there's no obstacles, we can just get through. So I'm going to show you how to add some of these in now. So we're going to go next into the info section, and we're going to put a time limit in there, make it a little bit of a challenge. So we're going to scroll down to the countdown section, and we're going to drag in this start countdown, and it's automatically set to 10 seconds. I'm going to drag that one in, and we're going to chuck this one in the on start section, and I'm going to give 25 seconds to finish my maze. So now at the top of my screen I've got a countdown. So I've got a countdown to get around my maze to the end. And if you don't get to the end by the time it counts down, you should have a lose. If I was plenty of time, let's just see what happens. And game over, because we didn't get there in time. So I know the countdown works, and I know the finish point works. So what I'm going to show you now to do is to add some obstacles in there that'll teleport your character from one place to the other if they touch something. So we're going to go back into your tile map. So where it says set tile map 2, I'm going to click on there. And I'm going to choose this kind of floor mappy word. It kind of, for me, kind of looks like a little bit like a whirlpool if you're looking down at it. So I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to put one in this corner, and I'm going to put one in this corner, And I might put one there, just to make it a little bit more difficult. So choose, could have been these red orbs. You can choose anything you want. I've just chose these whirlpools, chuck 3 of them in. So they're in there. You can put them wherever. You try and make it a little bit of a challenge, but not too hard. Okay, you want it to be a challenge for people, but not impossible. So you don't want it like blocking the entire path and they can't get through. Okay, so try and make it achievable. So I'm just happy with those 3 in there, and then I'm going to click done. So now what we need to do is we need to put an overlap in there to say what happens when you touch those tiles on the map. So we're going to use this overlap here again that we got from the scene section. So we're going to go into this section. We're going to scroll down to the overlap, which is this one, the on sprite with kind player overlaps, and it's got the blank tile at location. So we're going to bring this one in. I'm going to find a bit of space, just move down on my screen. There we go. And you're going to choose the tile that you've just put in. So I'm going to click on there and I'm going to put in the whirlpools. So now this says, when you touch this, something else is going to happen. So we're going to go back into the scene section. And we're looking for this one that says place my sprite on top of random, and it's got another blank square. So we've used this one before. I'm going to drag this one in. Same again, change the variable to whatever you've named your character. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to be mean and say if they touch any of those tiles, they're going to go back to the start. So my start block was the orb. I'm going to chuck that in. And this just means if you touch any of those whirlpools, you should go back to the start. So I'm rushing through and I'm just going to touch one, see what happens. There we go, back to the start. Time still counting down. Let's touch the other one, make sure. Yeah, so every time I touch one of those, I go back to the start. Okay, so you might want to have a couple of those in. Okay, so if it's too hard once you're testing it, because the teleportation tiles are in a hard place for your character to get past, maybe move them slightly. So always beta test your game, always keep testing it at the side here to make sure it's achievable and it does work. And just keep playing it. Think about, is 25 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever you've chosen, is that achievable for your people to play the game? If it's not, maybe increase it slightly, decrease it, make it harder, those types of things. So that's our basic maze game completed, but there's plenty of different things that you can add into there. So a couple of extension exercises that I'm going to set for you is you could add some bad guys in there. Okay, so you could add some enemies moving around the map. You could also, if you go to the tile map where we've been designing our maze, if we click on there, you'll find at the bottom left hand side there's 2 numbers that say 16 by 16. We can change those numbers to make our map longer, wider. Okay, you can change them loads of different ways to make your map more harder. You can also maybe add some audio in there as well, so to make an audio signal for the game over or a win, just so you've not just got something happening on the screen. It might be that audio cue for someone to win. Or if they touch the whirlpool, our teleportation, you might have a cool sound effect to symbolize them being sent back to the start. They're my couple of extension exercises. All the coding for those extensions can be found in this section here, where we've got all our different type of coding blocks. Okay, all the stuff that I've set you can be found in there. Don't worry about dragging coding in and it not working. Drag it in, test your game, see if it works. If it doesn't work, take it out, or maybe look at what you need to change you might need another block to go in with that block that you've dragged in. So don't worry, trial it, mess around with it, put different things in, because you can always take things out. And this code that I've done with you, okay, that's our basic code. We can always go back to that and our game will work. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is how to share this work. If you go to the top here where it says share, you can click this share button and you can rename your game. So I'm going to call my game Paul's Great. Should I put escape? Yeah, let's go escape. So you can rename your game. We called it Maze Game, you might have called it your name, you might have called it a test, but this is where we can rename it and give it a proper title. So I've gone for Paul's Great Escape, and then I'm going to click Publish Project. And this URL here, I'm just going to highlight it. This URL here is a way of keeping track of your game. So if you save that somewhere in your notes or on your computer, or take a picture of it or write it down, whatever, you can always go back to it and then that'll be your game. You can also share it with people, so you can send it to people, you can text it to people, you can post it on social media, and don't worry if you do, because even if you share it with people and they open it and they play it and they start making changes to it, that's kind of their copy, so it's not going to affect your game. Okay, so it's that kind of like their copy on their device, so don't worry about sharing it with people and them ruining your game. What else can you do with that is you can send it to us at Mako. We love seeing people's games and being able to test them, play them, and see what characters they've come up with, and like the crazy designs we get of characters. They're so good. I love seeing them. So if you can and you want to, feel free to share them to Mako and we'll have a look at them as they come through. And this is the end of video 2, and once again I'd love to give a big thanks to Curious Minds and their Bubble Up project for allowing us to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the last video, video 3, where we're making a new game. So I've been Paul, thank you very much for watching, I'll see you next time.